wanted to ask you a question. It's fascinating that when you talked about gendered references and you then had to kind of, I just wanted to talk about this. I don't know that recording it is going to be necessary, but you talked about I'm making gendered references, and then you kind of apologized for that and talked about when you talk about that in class, do you have to backtrack that when you say a father and a mother raising a kid in class? Do you then say, all right, I'm a biologist, this is why
I feel I should. I really feel I should.
How do students respond? Like,
they appreciate it.
They do.
They appreciate it. No, because the majority of students are also in this binary world. They are living in a male-dominated binary world.
Whether or not they are binary, they are living in a binary world, yeah.
And most of them sort of follow that world. If they're a female, they're going to date a male, and a male is going to date a female. But not all of them. So more common than non-binary people are people who are gay, who might be a woman dating a woman or a man dating a man. And so I have more of those students than I'm going to have someone who's completely non-binary.
Mm-hmm.
So far, I have not had any non-binary people in my class, but we're so much more aware of it that students want to hear about this.
So rather than so what you're saying is it's just out of your mouth comes a mother and a father raising a baby. You haven't been able to change that to two people raising a baby.
It sounds strange as a biologist to talk about, and so I want to at least have the students have cognitive dissonance.
Do you think, though, that in 25 years, a professor in your position will be saying two people having a baby just completely naturally without feeling that it's unusual?
I don't know about that. We have a lot of cultural baggage that will be with us for a while. I think that it's necessary to draw attention to the bias in our narratives. And I am telling narratives. And I warn the students from day one. First thing out of my mouth is I will tell you stories. They will sound plausible because they're based on facts, but they are still stories. And I'm choosing the facts to fit my stories. And we have to understand that the male-female dynamic, this binary, is a narrative, and it is not necessary. It is something that is part of our long-term narrative, and we have to realize that this is a form of bias. And so I try to approach it that way. And so I talk about things like, until 2017, we thought that women had 0% of hunting in hunter-gatherer societies. And now we're looking back at the same papers and realizing that we just didn't call what women did hunting.
I guess what I was getting at was in your mid-50s, you say, a man and a father and a mother having a baby, and then you're like, but like, I understand that not every family is like that. So I just, and you have to backtrack that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how the students respond to you rather than coming out with a non-gendered sentence that you don't have to then backtrack on. I'm just wondering what their response to that was. And you're saying they appreciate that.
They appreciate
acknowledge who you are and the fact that you're acknowledging that.
Well, but it's more than that, because the narratives I tell tend to reinforce cultural stereotypes. And so I really don't want to reinforce the male getting the resources and bringing them back to the female doing the nursing.
So you're saying you're not, the purpose of your narrative is not to reinforce a stereotype. It's some other purpose, but it sounds like it's reinforcing.
Exactly. So I keep reminding the students that there is this problem. And it's wider than that. So it's exactly what you're talking about, the very class-oriented story I just told, where it's all about getting your kids into college. That doesn't apply to everyone all the time. It definitely applies to my students. And they are nodding, but I remind them that the world is not like that for everyone. And, many of them are from India. About a third of my class is from India.
Wow.
And so they are very aware that there are people who are having large families, and those families are not going to college, and they are still farmers. And so
everything you're saying is wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So I have to say, look, these are narratives that are for a particular time and place, and they're because of my particular background and where we're coming from, but that they should be questioning these narratives, and that these narratives do tend to reinforce certain biases. So anyway, we can talk about that as a whole thing, but not today.
All right.